Hello, my name is Luke Hodson. I'm going to be your teacher today, and we're going over vocabulary instruction. Alright, so you should have the slideshow with you, and you can follow along as you go. I just switched slides to the second one. So I'm on vocabulary instruction, and what is it? So, vocabulary instruction is defined as the knowledge of words and word meanings, okay? So, this definition basically is saying that the knowledge of vocabulary is in fact knowledge itself, okay? Now, that's an interesting concept. When you see it there in the text, it seems like it's almost a miswrite, but that's exactly what it is. The knowledge and depth of vocabulary is knowledge itself. What role does vocabulary play in the development of comprehension? We know that reading comprehension is extremely important. Probably the most important role, most important aspect of school for students, especially at a developing age. And the National Reading Panel, which I did some research on, put out that vocabulary plays a role both in learning and plays a role in learning and to read in comprehension texts. And thus, readers cannot understand a text without knowing what most of the words mean, right? So if a kid doesn't have that big of a vocabulary, he's not going to know what some of these words are at his grade level, especially as grades go up and he has no home support, nothing to really build that vocabulary, and they're not going to understand what they're reading. So, I'm going to get into the four components of effective vocabulary program, and that's what you need as a teacher is to establish a program. You can't just wing it. So what you got to do, there's four components that were defined by an author of a book that I gathered most of my research from, and what he said was that wide and extensive independent reading to expand word knowledge is a big component. A second one is instruction in specific words to enhance comprehension containing those words, right? Instruction in independent word learning strategies, okay? So strategies for just single words you're doing activities for, word consciousness and wordplay activities to motivate and enhance learning, right? So that's the stuff that we all like to do, that we remember from school. We're collaborating with our friends, we're doing games, activities. Those weren't just for fun. They're to help us learn. They're to have that information circle around in us. Teachers want that to embed that information in students' heads. So that's the reason that we play games and do all these other strategies. So be careful is one warning that this author gives. So he tells us that vocabulary won't ensure success in reading. Not all vocabulary drills and memorization, they won't ensure success in reading. However, if you lack word knowledge and skills, there's really nowhere you can go. So it might not work, but if you don't have these skills, there's no way you'll be able to comprehend what you're reading if you don't practice, if you don't work on it. So not just practice makes perfect, it's perfect practice makes perfect, and you just got to keep practicing, and it's on us as teachers to keep giving them activities and drills to keep them sharp. So in my research, I came to some important revelations. I think I came to about 8 important ones. Just key discoveries that I've found that I really thought encompassed this topic pretty well. And the first one is that vocabulary words should be those that the learner will find useful in many different subjects and scenarios. So if you're going to be handing out vocabulary words, and think about the other subjects that the kids have, and can they apply it to those subjects? Does it make sense in that context? And those are the type of words you want to be able to use. Words that they'll be able to use, not in just other subjects, but other areas of their life. Words that make sense, essentially, they can apply in different scenarios, okay? So, the next key finding that I came across was that high frequency words, known and used as a mature language, can only add productivity, right? So high frequency words, when a teacher uses like, the, and it, like that, those will actually assist students in learning because they get those. They can attach, meaning to those words, and helps them understand the broader topic. So vocabulary activities we're administering should be structured and restructured based on how the students are responding. And that's a big one. And that really comes with every aspect of teaching, not just vocabulary instruction. You need to be always changing, always differentiating your instruction, your activities. You need to make sure the students aren't bored. Kids' attention spans are getting shorter, and we need to keep them engaged and keep them improving. So, other revelations and findings is that vocabulary instruction is effective when activity consists of engagement that goes beyond basic knowledge and definitions. Right? So, when an activity just goes beyond just that word and seeing that word and what does this definition mean, and studying that over and over, writing it down maybe. The most effective way, a more effective way, is to try to use that word into sentences or stories. Now, a lot of teachers will have students use a word in a sentence in order to show understanding of that word. Others don't. Some just want the definition, and maybe we'll administer a matching quiz or something like that. But I personally think putting it in a sentence or a paragraph or a story and being able to apply it to that or some aspect of your life is really, that's what understanding is of the word. So the next slide, we're on slide 9 now. We have a Batman character on there. There's the idea and importance of repetition and frequent exposure to vocabulary words is important, right? Research warns us that simply repeating a word over and over again doesn't work, right? So kind of more just rolling with that. I just really like this slide for the Batman image, to be honest. So vocabulary through incidental learning is kind of another key discovery that I found. And what that is when vocabulary can be applied through incidental learning, it means that the more we read, right, the more words we're expected to know, and the more words we do know. And with that being said, if we know more words, the more concepts we can learn, right? Because vocabulary, knowledge is knowledge. So, and thus, we get smarter. All right, so I'll run through that again. That was a little choppy. The more words, so the more we read, the more words we're exposed to. The more words we're exposed to, the more concepts we learn, and thus the smarter we become. All right. Next slide is going to be on battles of best practices. So in my research, I kind of found different avenues that were kind of getting argued and tested to see what was the best as far as forms of vocabulary. And the big battles that it covered were oral versus print vocabulary. So oral is speaking, print is text, right? Receptive or productive vocabulary, and then breadth of vocabulary versus depth. Obviously breadth, depth, right? Receptive, you're receiving. Productive, producing. All right. Vocabulary in my field experience. Now, I had a couple different cooperating teachers. I was in a science class, social studies class, and a resource room. Most of the time I spent in the science class this go around, and he used a chart, a vocabulary chart that every student had that was in the back of their 3-ring binder, and he would have them, when they acquired a new word or came across a new word in the text, he would have them pull out their books. It could be during silent reading, it could be during instruction, and students do it on their own. They write the word down, the day that they acquired it, the day they acquired it, the definition, and then they have to use it in a sentence. So in a scientific sentence, actually, that relates to that unit. So they heard it in this unit, they write down the unit, the date, and they have to use it in a sentence, right? That makes sense, sensible to a science subject. And this is kind of hard. It's hard for some of the students. This is for 7th grade, but it really does help them understand the word, because the only reason it is hard is if they don't understand the word. a 7th grader can write sentences easily. So, they get this word, this new vocab word, and really have to demonstrate an understanding before they can use it in a sentence, especially a scientific sentence. All right, and then 2 more slides, and we're done. Methods for success. So key methods that I found, I know there's plenty more, are a concept cube, a word wizard, word connect, and semantic maps. Now, a lot of these are just graphic organizers, and graphic organizers are involved. But the one that I used was Word Wizard in my class, and it worked really well. I know the students enjoyed it, and I haven't tried these other strategies, but by reading by them, I'm sure that they would work just as well. So, in my research paper, it defines these strategies a little more in detail. So then, now we're on my final slide, and that's a summary and conclusion. And basically, I'm just going to read it out to you. And after researching this topic extensively, making my own observations, and comparing with findings of experts and strategies of practitioners, I recognize that vocabulary instruction does lead to gains in comprehension and further literacy development. All right. So with that being said, it's critical to use appropriate and effective methods and materials in congruence to the student's age and abilities, right? So we got to know our students, and we got to give them material that's going to challenge them and push them to be better. So my sources are on the last slide, and have a good day.